In myths and legends, there are often references to various creatures and monsters. Some are good and harmless, while others are very scary and evil. Many of them, of course, are fiction, but not all of the monsters and various unknown creatures appear from time to time in the real life of people. Stories about such creatures are sent to us by eyewitnesses, according to which the creatures are quite real, sometimes even unique. Maybe you also met an unknown being in your life. Sirens, insidious sea creatures. In ancient Greek mythology, sirens were called mysterious female sea creatures. They were credited with a deceptive and cruel disposition. With their songs and seductive appearance, sirens lured sailors to their death. The mention of these fish girls or bird girls is common. There are also a lot of legends associated with them. They have one thing in common: that everyone who met with the sirens, we are, of course, talking about men, first of all, certainly died. The deadly charm of ancient legend. Different sources describe different versions of the origin of these creatures. According to one of the legends, these creatures are the offspring of the sea god Forky or Ahaloi, and one of the muses, Calliope, Terpsichore or Melpomene, was considered the mother, and Sterope was also sometimes considered the mother. This explains their demonic nature and melodic voice. The number of these creatures ranged from 2 or 3 to a whole multitude. According to legend, they lived on the rocks of an island littered with the bones and dried skin of unfortunate wanderers who were trapped by their insidious nature. Another legend is connected with their origin, that the sirens used to be very beautiful and arrogant girls who angered Aphrodite with their obstinate disposition, and she punished them by turning them into birds. Another, no less beautiful legend, says that nymphs became sirens who were turned into birds by the muses. Because, possessing extraordinary voices, they were so proud of it that they dared to challenge the muses in a competition, and lost. As punishment, they were turned into sirens. According to another version, Demeter, the mother of Persephone abducted by Hades, turned them into sirens. And another version claims that they themselves wanted to become birds, as they were going to find the young goddess kidnapped by Hades, but since people did not want to help them, they settled on a distant island and began to take revenge on everyone, luring wanderers and sailors to death. For many years, poets and writers have tried to recreate the ancient image, and each time, the legend came to life in a new way. Either these are insidious beautiful maidens, or they are harbingers of death from the other world. Often their image was carved on tombstones because they were associated with the angels of death, who sang funeral songs to the sound of a lyre. The Middle Ages also left many references and facts that proved amazing devotion to this image. Very often you can see the image of birds with female heads or the body of a fish on coats of arms in frescoes. There is also a less common version of the origin of female birds. She claims that they were the result of experiments by an alien mind, which eventually created a person with the help of genetic engineering. But this result was not obtained immediately. First, intermediate variants of living beings appeared, which combined the appearance of both animals and people, so sirens can be called one of the side branches of the experiment, such as mermaids, pegasi or satyrs. Of course, the same theory states that after obtaining a net result, all these beings were destroyed. But if this is so, then it remains unknown exactly how many individuals were created and how many were destroyed. There is a possibility that someone managed to survive and become the object of numerous legends and traditions. Perhaps the mysterious nature of the sirens was of a collective nature and personified the changeable and sometimes even unpredictable female nature. Maybe the mythical creatures really were a part of our world, but subsequently the unknown changes disappeared. Or maybe somewhere else on a distant island you can hear a wonderful voice calling the wanderer to rest after a long journey, and the sailor to drop anchor and enjoy the wonderful singing and music. Kraken myths and legends. Marine life is very diverse and sometimes frightening. The most bizarre forms of life can lurk in the abyss of the seas because humanity has not yet been able to fully explore all the expanses of water. And sailors have long had legends about a powerful creature that can sink an entire fleet or convoy with its mere appearance. About a creature whose appearance inspires horror and whose eyes makes you freeze in amazement. About a creature the likes of which are not in the stories. And if the sky above the world belongs to angels and dragons, the earth under their feet belongs to gnomes and terrorists, then the expanses of the seas belong to only one creature, the Kraken. To say the Kraken is huge would be an understatement. For centuries, a kraken resting in the abyss of water can reach simply unimaginable sizes of several tens of kilometers. It is truly huge and scary. Outwardly, it is somewhat similar to a squid, the same elongated body, the same tentacles with suction cups, all the same eyes and a special organ for moving underwater using air draft. That's just the size of the kraken, and the usual squid are not even close comparable. The ships that disturbed the peace of the kraken during the Renaissance sank from just one hit with a tentacle on the water. The kraken is mentioned as one of the most feared sea monsters. But there is someone to whom even he must obey. In different nations it is called differently. But all the legends say the same thing: this is the god of the seas and the lord of all sea creatures. And it doesn't matter how you call the super creature, one of his orders is enough for the kraken to throw off the shackles of 100-year sleep and do what he was instructed to do. In general, legends often mention a certain artifact that gave a person the ability to control the kraken. This creature is by no means lazy and absolutely harmless, unlike its owners. A kraken can sleep for centuries or even millennia without an order, without disturbing anyone with its awakening. Or maybe in a few days to change the face of the whole coast if his peace is disturbed or if he was given an order. Perhaps, among all creatures, the kraken has the greatest power, but also the most peaceful character. You can often find references to the fact that many such creatures are in the service of the sea god. But to imagine that this is true is very difficult. The huge size of the kraken and its strength make it possible to believe that this creature can be on different ends of the earth at the same time, but it is very difficult to imagine that there are two such creatures. How terrifying can be the battle of such creatures? In some epics, there are mentions of battles between krakens, which suggests that to this day almost all krakens died in these terrible fights, and the sea god commands the last survivors. A creature that does not produce offspring, free in food and rest, has reached such huge dimensions that one can only wonder how hunger has not yet driven it to land, and why it has not yet been met by researchers. Perhaps the structure of the kraken's skin and tissues makes it impossible to detect, and the creature's century-long sleep hid it in the sands of the seabed? Or maybe there was a depression in the ocean, where researchers have not yet looked, but where this creature is resting. One can only hope that even if it is found, the researchers will be smart enough not to arouse the wrath of the 1,000-year-old monster and not try to destroy it with the help of any weapon. According to cryptozoologists, the last surviving kraken today should be 12 kilometers long and almost a kilometer wide, and its tentacle is capable of wrapping around a skyscraper and tearing it off the ground. May the peace and sleep of this amazing Spider Woman. This is a terrible and little-known legend from Spain about a girl who turned into a terrible creature. This terrible story happened in Spain 100 years ago. Her name was Soledad. She was very young and very beautiful girl. A small fragile figure, a shock of long black hair, wide open, almond-shaped eyes, beautifully outlined scarlet lips. Such Soledad was described by everyone who saw her. Those who were lucky enough to communicate with her more often also noted her cheerful disposition and sincere goodwill towards people. Soledad is always sought to understand and support her neighbor, believing that any evil dormant in a person can disappear or not appear at all if everyone learns to understand their neighbor. So it was in her life until one terrible day. Soledad, like all beautiful and memorable girls, had a rival. It was Karina. She was just as beautiful, but with a harder heart. Karina envied her friend, her beauty, the attention men paid to her. And one day a plan ripened in the girl's heart how to destroy her friend and forever drive men away from her. Karina's plan was sophisticated and extremely cruel. She planned to scare the girl so as to deprive her of her mind, luxurious, black curls, which are so admired by all the guys in the district, or even life. Either outcome was good. And so Karina lured her friend to a secluded place in a forest cave where tarantulas and other large spiders were swarming. The girl's plan was simple: first, enjoy the screams of horror of a friend who was scared to death of spiders, then help her get out of the cave so as not to arouse suspicion in the future. What will happen next? Karina did not care. If they can't save their friend, great, one less rival. If they save it, that's fine too. After the horror suffered, the girl will no longer be as beautiful as before. Poor Soledad spent 3 minutes with the spiders, but that was enough to get a life-threatening dose of poison. The girl quickly came to the aid of a friend in hunting guys nearby. She was brought into the house, an experienced specialist was invited, but everything was useless. Soledad was dying. Before her death, she realized he wanted to harm her, but she did not find the strength in her heart to forgive and understand her friend. Solida died on the second day after the incident, but soon returned to the world of the living. The spider venom not only took her life, it gave her a new life. The girl turned into a vengeful monster, a huge tarantula with a human face. The face remains the same. And it was only a mask of the former Solidid. The scarlet lips now hid the spider's chews, the eyes became 2 tar drops, and the face turned white and dry. And only the hair, luxurious black curls, fell in beautiful curls, now on the ugly spider body. Thus was born a monster that still lives in Spain, hiding from people in secluded corners. But every 5 years it crawls to the surface to eat. For 3 nights in a row, it attacks people and drags them to its house or kills them on the spot. No one alive today has seen him, and no one knows how to kill him. Neither strong walls, nor deep rivers, nor dense forests save for the monster. Every 5 years, in the middle of summer, people can only lock themselves in their homes and pray that it will pass by.